I remember when I was very young, right, when I heard of the approach that Dubai approached President Olusegun Obasanjo and said, who invests in desert, right? That desert today, Dubai, is a world wonder, is an attraction to the world. As a government, you must really be smart about how you position yourself and your policies in the eye of the investor that is looking from outside. When the landmark event thing happened, some people that came and brought money and built all of those things that you're not building on canals, check and do their job. Who authorized it? So we as a country, the fact that we're not saying zero tolerance to some of these things, then we are part of the problem. To become a world-class country, Nigeria must tackle some of these deep-rooted structural issues while leveraging its unique strength, right? We have amazing things, as I said, like literally everything we need to succeed. Is it mineral resources? Is it arable land? Is it even the people? Some of us just need to be upskilled a little bit, but we have intelligent and brilliant minds. All right, thanks for staying tuned. Now, if you just joined us, yes, today we're asking, will Nigeria ever become a world-class country? So, as we all know, Nigeria is a country of paradoxes, right? With a population that is exceeding 220 million. It is Africa's most populous nation and one of its largest economies. It possesses vast reserves of oil and gas, a growing tech scene, a very vibrant culture, and an entrepreneurial spirit that drives innovation in the face of adversity. Literally, Nigeria is that place where, you know, Nigerians don't see impossibility, because with what Nigerians are faced with and the amount of greatness that has come out of this country, you will truly know that, yes, we were born to be great, right? So yet, all of these advantages stand in stark contrast, right, to the country's reality, right? Because right now, if you check, we have high poverty rates, chronic power shortages, insecurity, weak institutions, and systemic corruption. All of these things continue to undermine our progress. Now, we have decades of poor leadership and mismanagement, and this has prevented Nigeria from transforming its potential into meaningful development. You know, we have just been a potential, you know, whenever they are talking, oh, Nigeria has the potential, right, to do this, Nigeria has the potential to do that. We have not been able to convert that into meaningful development. Public services are broken, infrastructure is lagging, and the education and healthcare sector, they are all in critical conditions, right? I mean, it's just everywhere, all the sectors. So while some might point to the bright spots like fintech, yeah, I mean, the amount of growth that we've experienced in fintech, amazing. Diaspora remittance, you know, it's quite huge. I hear the amount of money that comes from diaspora is amazing. And of course, regional influence, that we have, you know, as a country, the kind of influence that we wield, you know, these are some people's argument, right? Others would argue that these are not enough to shift our nation's trajectory, right? As a country, with everything that we have, there has to be some level of intentionality if anything must shift. So countries like Singapore, South Korea, UAE, all of them, they rose from underdevelopment to global prominence in few generations, you know. And if you really look at it, this is why a lot of us Nigerians were left wondering what is holding us back. I remember when I was very young, right, when I heard of the approach that Dubai approached then President Olusegun Obasanjo and said, who invests in desert, right? That desert today, Dubai, you know, is, you know, a world wonder, is an attraction to the world. Everybody from all over the world, they go to Dubai. Like literally, if you go to Dubai today and you go back a year from today, you would see different things like you almost not recognize. That is how fast-paced their development is. But if you go to some parts in Nigeria, like you come back 10 years, it's actually even looking in a worse off state than where you left it, you know, a year ago. And that cannot be our reality. So we're asking, right, is it possible? Can Nigeria, you know, overcome some of these structural challenges that it has and achieve the world-class status? Or is that vision still very distant, from us? We should just keep it in our dream realm, right? And you see, the answer to this question, it lies not in sentiments. And this is one thing I always say, that every time we want to have realistic conversations about Nigeria, I don't want politicians to keep politicizing it and thinking, who is sponsoring this person to say this? No, right? Because if we truly want to transform our country to a world-class standard country, we cannot be sentimental about it, right? We must have a clear-eyed assessment of where we are as a country, right? Where we are as a country and what must change. And this is not trying to sugarcoat. And that's why I said that when everybody was talking about 2 years in office, I said, you know what, let's move away from that. What we need in this country is beyond every 4 years or every 8 years of somebody being a president. No. We need to really sit down and critically assess where we are as a country, where we stand, and what we must change. And if we do that, then maybe that journey that we want to achieve a world-class country might not be anything again in our dream. It might become a reality for us. So I thought to say that, I thought rather to feature some countries. Whilst we're having all of this conversation, it's important for us to just have a quick history of some countries, right? And I decided that 5 nations that successfully moved from underdevelopment to becoming world-class economy. And, I decided to just, call out 5 nations and what they did to achieve that transformation. So I'll start with Singapore, right? Their status then was, Singapore had gained their independence in 1965 as a very poor country. They had a very they were a resource-scarce nation. They had high unemployment. They had housing shortages. They had ethnic tensions. All of these was what Singapore was faced with. But here's what they did, right? Singapore, under the very strong leadership of Lee Kuan Yew, right, with a focus on meritocracy and anti-corruption, they changed the game. They developed a world-class infrastructure. They developed ports. And this attracted foreign direct investment by creating a very business-friendly environment. Business-friendly environment. Nigeria is such a beautiful and blessed nation. Like, we literally have every single thing it takes to succeed. But if you check, we are currently facing what Singapore faced. Is it ethnic tension, all the political tension, corruption, a high rate of unemployment? All of these things, they faced it. Now, let me tell you what I have learned in my small years on earth. I have learned that if you do not know something, right, what you need to do as a person, just go and thank God for technology. Technology has made life so easy. Just go and ask, how did you get this thing done? You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just copy and paste. But for you to do that, you must first of all have the heart to want to change the status quo, right? Because if you look at what Singapore did, it is not rocket science. They first of all focused on meritocracy and anti-corruption. They developed a world-class infrastructure. They also developed ports. And that attracted foreign direct investment, and they created a very business-friendly environment. They invested heavily in education and skill training. Education and skill training. Remember what I said yesterday about the polytechnics asking for that dichotomy to be taken out and let them be able to also issue their own certifications and all of that. It's beyond that. Polytechnics are needed for any kind of growth that would happen, because that is almost like where you get direct skill training. So imagine if the leaders in this country are interested in changing the game. You have to invest heavily in education. So for every time I look at our budgets in Nigeria and I see what is allocated to education. I say, okay, no, we are not yet ready to. We're not ready. So it's beyond you pointing somebody and saying, let us assess your 2 years in office. No. By actions, they say, speak louder than words. And it is by your actions I would assess you as a person, not what you say to me. It is how you behave, right? So they invested heavily in education and skill training. They built knowledge-based, diversified economy, right? They built a knowledge-based, diversified economy. They also built, their finance sector, the biotech sector, the logistics sector, and technology, they built it. So today, if you go to Singapore, is a global hub for finance, trade, and innovation. How beautiful that is. So let's move away from Singapore and move to South Korea. What was their status? War ravaged. They were war-ravaged and extremely poor after the Korean War between 1950 to 1953. Mostly agricultural with no significant natural resources. That is South Korea. So it is not a function of, you see why I say that if you look at Nigeria, Nigeria has no business not succeeding. This country, they did not have anything in terms of natural resources, right? But this is what they did. Export-led industrialization, they focused on manufacturing. So they focused on cars, electronics, ships, right? They did something called chaebol strategy, which supported large family-owned conglomerates like Samsung and Hyundai. We have Innoson. We have some brilliant companies here in Nigeria. How are we supporting them? In Nigeria, instead of supporting our homegrown industries or companies, we try to want to crush them in this country. Just the complete opposite. They had massive investment in education and research and development. You see, education, research and development. So they transitioned to a tech and innovation powerhouse in just a few decades. So if you check on South Korea today, they are a high-tech economy and a global cultural influencer. Where are my K-drama people? The whole of Nigeria, I can count just a few people that have not been infected by the K-drama bug. You can imagine how much they have captured the minds of people. In all that consumption that we are all consuming K-drama, we are making their economy stronger and bigger. I mean, you see that these ones, they don't even have too many things, but they just looked inward and what do we have? Oh yeah. And that their K-drama, once you started, there was a day I was watching, I watched it 4 a.m. I said, not me again, right? And that is how powerful, so they understand. Now, you see between Singapore and South Korea, we have everything, because if it is for culture influencing, go and check what is happening to music, right? And fashion. Nigeria is heavily influencing global fashion and global music. Globally. We're not even doing it locally. So why are we not using that to transform our country to a world superpower? Let's move on to China, right? Their status, they were communists, they were centrally planned and economically isolated until 1970s. They also had mass poverty, they had famine. They also had very low industrial capacity. Now, this is what they did. 1978. I'm not able to pronounce their names. It was Xiaoping, I think, right? Deng Xiaoping market reform. It opened to global trade and investment. They also built special economic zones. They call it SEZs, right? For foreign businesses. And that became the factory of the world, through cheap labor and manufacturing scale. So that is why everybody's going to China to produce. We also have cheap labor here. So they built Lekki Free Trade Zone, right? So they have massive investment in infrastructure, urbanization, and tech development. Today, if you check, right, they are the world's second largest economy, leading in AI, electric vehicles, and infrastructure. When I saw that thing about electric vehicles, how they have, you know, they've surpassed everybody. I said, so that's why I say that this thing, you have to be a visionary leader. And you cannot be that petty leader. You understand? You cannot be that leader that say, oh, you did not vote for me, so because of that, there's no... No, we can't be doing that. The world is moving. And the world is moving very fast. So as a leader, if you must change anything, you must start to think visionary. What can we do? What do we have? And how can we change these things? Right? Let's quickly move on to UAE. Right? UAE, they were mainly a desert with a small economy based on fishing and pearling, right? This was pre-1960. They lacked basic infrastructure. Now, what did they do? They used oil revenues to invest in modern infrastructure. They diversified early into real estate, finance, tourism, aviation. So look at the likes of Emirates Airlines. I mean, there was a time, virtually every time you're at the international airport or anywhere that you have high-profile people, you will see those people selling you properties in Dubai. Come and buy a house in Dubai. Most of your politicians, they have houses in Dubai, right? Instead of them to be thinking, how can I get people to come and buy houses in Nigeria? They are going to go and help other people's economy. Dubai created free economic zones and tax incentives to attract global businesses. So a lot of people moved their businesses to Dubai. They also positioned themselves as a luxury destination and a trade hub. That's what Dubai did. So if you go to Dubai, you are screaming luxury. I remember the first time I traveled to New York, right? And I had not been to the US, I mean, before that time. But I'd gone to Dubai, like I think about twice or three times. So by the time my uncle came to the airport to pick us up, because the way when I was younger, the way they say, oh, New York, New York, I just asked him, is this your New York? He took an offense. He was so upset that, why would I say that? I said, because it's dirty, it's smelling everywhere, you know. He asked, why would you? I said, Uncle, have you been to Dubai? As at that time, he had never been to Dubai. I said, I think you should visit Dubai, because when you visit Dubai, you come back and we'll have this conversation again. Dubai positioned themselves to be that luxury destination. So Dubai today, they are a global city with top-tier tourism, real estate, and logistics sector, right? So I'll quickly touch on one final one, then I'll take a break. Rwanda, because let's come to Africa, right? They were devastated by the 1994 genocide that collapsed their economy and put them in deep ethnic divisions. They were one of the poorest countries in the world, Rwanda. So now this is what they did. They focused on national unity and reconciliation under President Paul Kagame. They also had zero tolerance for corruption and strong centralized governance. They also invested in ICT, tourism, health and education. They created a clean, safe, and business-friendly environment. Rwanda positioned itself as the Singapore of Africa in ambition and reforms. Now, today, Rwanda is one of Africa's fastest-growing economies and a model for governance and tech adoption. Isn't that fantastic? All right, so let me go on a break. When I come back from the break, I'd love to open the phone lines and hear your thoughts. And I'll also give you something I believe that all 5 of these countries have in common. Stay with me. So staying tuned. Now, if you just tuned in, I told my producer I have a lot of things to say today. So if you just tuned in, we're asking, will Nigeria ever become a world-class country? I would really love to hear your thoughts on this. If you believe that we can get there, let me know. And if you don't believe, let me know and tell me your reasons, right? So let's hear what you have to say. You can join the conversation. Send us a WhatsApp or SMS on 081-803-4663. Our phone lines are also now open. The numbers to call are 070-2500-7749 or 070-1424-2420. Let's hear what you have to say. So before I come to solutions, right, I really want to tell you what I believe or what I saw. The 5 countries, right, that I mentioned, Rwanda, South Korea, Singapore, Dubai. What's the last country now? Oh, my God. Okay, skipping my memory. No, I've mentioned Rwanda, right? So China, yes, that's the country. So now these are things that I believe they have in common. So they have very strong visionary leadership. You know, they have very strong visionary leadership. So stable governments that prioritize long-term national goals. So you know why this is important? This is why I come back to the initial reason for this conversation. Because we keep basing our governance, right, on 2 years, on 8 years, right? Is that going to solve our problem? We must have a national plan. I remember visiting the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. They showed us the entire plan, right? So any prime minister that comes in, you just fall in line with the global vision. So there is a vision already. So where is the vision? Nigeria. And it's not all this vision, 2020 vision. No, vision forever. So anybody that comes, where are you? You are between 2027 to 20. Okay, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And you must make sure you complete it. If we start to have leadership that is very strong and visionary, things will change because they have stable government that prioritize long-term goals. These 5 countries that I mentioned. Number 2, they invested in education, building skills, competitive workforce. You cannot run away from investing in education. If Nigeria must change, education and skills must be prioritized. It is impossible for you to run away from that. Number 3, see how they did. They created very business-friendly environment and attracted foreign direct investment. I think I have a caller, my first caller for the evening, Inze, right? Thank you for calling. Good evening. Go ahead, please. Is he there? Did we lose him? Okay. All right. So while we're trying to connect back, attracting foreign direct investment, right? They created business-friendly policies. So you see that when the coastal line, fantastic idea, and all of these things, when those things, right, when what the world is seeing, they are not seeing that maybe some of these people had some, they didn't get the proper permits to build all of those things. No, what they are saying is that the government is demolishing years of hard work. So that is why, as a government, you must really be what's it called? Smart about how you position yourself and your policies in the eye of the investor that is looking from outside. When the landmark event thing happened, some people that came and brought money and built all of those things. So I've not said that those people are in the right, especially the ones that went to build on the canal. The point is, as a government, you must be very strict on your policies, meaning that the regulators that are supposed to go and check that you're not building on canals must check and do their job. So it is not enough for you to say you are demolishing those properties. Who authorized it? I have another caller, Chris, right? Thank you for calling. What's going on the phone?
Thank you.
Ah, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I don't have much to say, but thank you. You guys are doing a good job.
Oh, Sugar. Can't hear him properly.
But, discussing the Nigeria economy and the way forward is a very long way to go. Because number one, we have greedy politicians here, which they will never allow this country to grow. Now, the worst part of it is these APC people, they don't care. What they want is to remain there forever. President Tinubu is just 2 years, 2 years in office. And look at what is happening. They started campaigning for 2007. They started, all their motive is about 2007. And hunger is killing Nigerians. And look at the way things are going. Nothing is moving. How much is dollar now? Look at Boko Haram. Look at terrorists. That is destroying Nigeria. But we don't even, the farmers now find it difficult to go to go and farm. And the useless, greedy people like Winke and Co, they are busy.
Let's avoid insulting.
I don't like what is happening here, my
I know,
sister.
Chris, but we need to be able to.
Now, they will start deceiving people again too. Whether you vote for them or don't vote for them, they are going to manipulate their way. In as much as God and Somali and Co are concerned, Nigeria has a very big problem.
Thank you.
Nigeria has a very big problem.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Please,
Yeah,
let's be conscious about. Because you see, once we start to do insult and all of that, we are just going to the conversation will not be, why did you insult me? Let's not deviate from the conversation. Let us be very clear on what we want. So I talked about, but thank you, Chris. He believes that we're not going to move forward with this crop of politicians, right? So yeah, I mean, let your calls come in and let's keep having the conversation. So as I said, second point was that they had a very business-friendly policies that attracted foreign direct investment. Then the third point is, all 5 countries, they were focused on infrastructural development. So you see their roads, their ports, digital infrastructure, those were the things that helped to support the trade and growth. And now, finally, all 5 of them had zero tolerance for corruption. Zero tolerance for corruption. So they had efficient and transparent institutions to build trust. So if I know that come rain, come sunshine. Do you know that there was a white man that told me one time, it's Nigeria now, you're in Nigeria, anything. I was upset. But let me take Nze. Nze, you're live. Thank you for calling. Is Nze here, or because I think it must be his network, or yeah. Okay, so I mean, when he said that this is Nigeria now, I say God. Because even sometimes when I see these foreigners drive on our roads, they can never drive like that in their country. Do you understand? So we as a country, the fact that we're not saying zero tolerance to some of these things, then we are part of the problem. We're part of the problem. To become a world-class country, Nigeria must tackle some of these deep-rooted structural issues while leveraging its unique strength, right? We have amazing things, as I said. Like literally everything we need to succeed. Is it mineral resources? Is it arable land? Is it even the people, right? Some of us just need to be upskilled a little bit, but we have intelligent and brilliant minds. We must leverage some of these, and our strengths are quite unique. That's why most times, every time in Nigeria goes anywhere abroad, you're almost a source of envy because everything you touch just turns to gold, right? And this transformation, it will not happen overnight. And that's why I want to agree with Chris's sentiment. It won't happen overnight, right? It requires visionary leadership, sustained reforms, and social buy-ins. You must have the government, right, that would say, okay, you know what, at this point, we are tired of this. We need to also become the pride of Africa, right? This thing has a little bit of self-pride. You must have bragging rights as a government. I know that Dubai, they will tell you, you can't go to any country that is finer than our own. Let us start to have those kind of healthy bragging rights to say, no, if you come to Nigeria, that is the kind of government that we need. So we must fix governance and strengthen our institutions. Without this capable, transparent governance, structure, development remains a dream. It will just be inside the realms of the spirit. If we do not have capable, transparent governance system, it is a dream for us to think about development. We must professionalize public service through strict meritocracy and civic service reform. You see, all these times, oh wow, we have Nze again. Nze, you're live. This call, I hope I hear you this time around. Can you hear me? How come you can hear him, I can hear him? Okay, so, right, we must personalize public service through strict meritocracy and civic service reform. All this while they talk about, what's it called, our ministers, they talk about public servants, they talk about all the people, the elected officials and the appointed officials. You forget that the real lacuna, how they call it, is the civil servants. They are the real trouble. Because anybody that comes, they will tell you, soldier go, soldier come, barrack remains. They are the ones that have formed an institution, right, that tells you, oh, no, that's not how we do it. This is how we do it here. So even if you have a good head that comes, that good head can do good job for the 4 years. But after 4 years, that person leaves. It goes back to status quo. So we must reform. And it has to be on merit. Not all these ones that you are paying, because people pay. You pay money and you get a federal government job and you work with the civil service. All of those things must stop. Stop appointing people based on, oh, this is a political reward. No, it has to be based on merit. Is this person qualified to be here? If the answer is yes, then you hire the person. I believe we have another caller.
Hello.
Is that Nze? Good evening.
Yes, yes, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for calling, and thank you for staying persistent. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much for the historical perspective of the five nations you mentioned. Unfortunately, some of the factors you ruled out, that will lead to the creation of a world-class society. Not that the personnel are not there in Nigeria, the current personnel that are managing our resources do not have what it takes to take us to a world-class, country. Because our greatest problem is tribalism and nepotism, and then religion. All those countries you mentioned, these factors, they put it behind them and had a focus that they want to build a nation, and they were very intentional. And you can see where the result has landed them. But unfortunately, in Nigeria, the best are not always in the in the driving seat to lead us. We always have people that it's like a football team where 10 to 11 is the one that is taking you to the competition, and there is no way they will manifest a positive result. I thank you so much for what you have read out, but I wish people will take in, be conscious of all these factors that you have mentioned and realize that building a nation does not really mean that I have to be your brother or your sister. I have to come from the same church with you.
Yeah.
All you look out for are people that have the capacity, the ability to govern, the ability to change things. These are the factors, especially in education. And a nation that pays less, premium on education will always suffer the way we are suffering today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for informing Nigerians on what it takes to build a nation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nze. I really appreciate your call. I mean, like you rightly, like he alluded to what I had said about, ensuring that it is based on merit to start to hire people, not, just because you're trying to compensate or, this is my brother and all of that. All of those things have to stop. If Nigeria will change, these are the things that they must do. You must also empower some of these your anti-graft agencies and let them truly be independent. You have to be independent. You must give them the ability to work transparently, right? Without any form of, control or whatever. Then they will do their job. You must decentralize governance. As far as I'm concerned, the federal government is too powerful. We must decentralize power. We must shift more powers to states and localize them. Right? So ability for state to control their mineral resources, some of these resources that they have, right? All of those things to just strengthen the states. If you cannot do with all the 36 states, could take us back to regional system. So we just know we are in different region, right? We must also implement a long-term national developmental plan. Right? Not just one that is on somebody's agenda. If Jonathan comes, Jonathan will give us Vision 2020. Tinubu comes, Tinubu will give us Vision 5030. That is not what we want. We want a national developmental plan that anybody that comes, you fall in line. So we must invest in human capital, education, health. No country has ever risen, like Nze said, no country has ever risen to global prominence without a highly educated, healthy population. So if you as a government, you are not paying attention to education, how do we then solve this problem? We must increase funding to at least 15 to 20% of the national budget to education and healthcare. So some of these things, we must reform our basic and secondary education, focus on skills, digital skills, entrepreneurship, STEM. That's what the US is focusing on now, right? You see a lot of people going into those STEM courses. Those are the courses that will transform your economy. We must invest heavily in those things. And now public healthcare infrastructure, there has to be, and the personnel, there have to be heavy investment on them. Because that would then address the brain drain that we're having heavily in that healthcare sector. If you improve their wage conditions, for all the professionals in the healthcare sector, where did they go? What would they be doing abroad? They will not travel. They'll be here. It is tougher to live abroad. But because of the situation here, and it doesn't seem like it's going to change or there's not going to be any form of growth, that's why people leave the country. We must, again, moving away from that, unleash the private sector and, that entire ecosystem, government should create a very friendly environment for businesses to thrive, right? It is not the government that should run the economy. It is businesses that would run the economy. But for businesses to run the economy, you must be intentional about creating an environment that makes those businesses survive. Simplify regulations to support SMEs, tech startup, the agri sector. You must strengthen property rights and contract enforcement to attract investment. So when I'm coming with my dollar, or I'm coming with my pounds or whatever to your country, what is protecting me? Right? All of those policies, you must provide access to affordable financing for businesses. So if I come to you as a government and say, I want to do business, what are you doing to give me that fund to be able to then mobilize and hire people? There's no form of support. These are the things that you can use to help. So you must expand your tech innovations beyond Lagos and Abuja. Because anything you hear innovation or tech hub or maybe free trade zone, it is either Abuja or it is, there are other parts of this country that need the attention as well. So if we really must solve any problem, if you want to see whether we are going in the right direction, these are the indicators to look out for. So for us to build a world-class infrastructure, we must have reliable power. We must have great road network, rail network, ports, internet. All of those things are non-negotiable if we must grow. We must treat electricity as a national emergency. You know, support decentralize all these issues around renewable energy solutions. Let it be available and see if the economy will not thrive. So these are like just, because there are just too many things to focus on, right? But it is important that, you know, we don't compromise on these things. We must industrialize this country with a focus on value addition. No country has ever developed by exporting raw materials. Every time we're exporting, but we're exporting raw materials, exporting crude, exporting our raw, what's it called, sesame seed, whatever it is that we're exporting. We can't survive, we can't develop by exporting raw materials alone. We must develop industrial clusters. Now, these are clusters that would be around agriculture, the mining sector, textile, petrochemicals. You must move from this oil dependency to refining petrochemicals and clean energy. We must create special economic zones like the way China, the SEZ zones, right? We must create them with tax incentive, good logistics, and ease of doing business. Finally, support youth skills, right? Those skills that are tied to local manufacturing and services. We must start to develop those kind of skills. So stop giving them grinding machine and motorcycle. Imagine that guy is it Lokoja where that gave tire of a motorcycle, and he called that empowerment, and he put it on TV, on national TV. You know, I don't know what we promote in this country. And security is sacrosanct, because we cannot talk about all of these things without looking at our security architecture in this country. State policing, modern intelligence, right? We must access the root causes of insecurity. Address them. So unemployment, inequality, ethno-religious marginalizations, all of these things are part of what causes the insecurity challenges that we have. We must run an inclusive national dialogue system to resolve some of these structural challenges that we have and build a national identity. Like the list is endless. For us to rebrand Nigeria, a lot of things must change. Right? I'll conclude by saying that Nigeria's transformation is possible. That I believe. You know, it is possible. It is very possible. But it will require a national reset led by courageous leadership and supported by a population willing to demand better. So you see, it's not about the government alone. Remember what we talked about yesterday, when we talked about watchdogs, right? Beyond the people, because we need courageous leaders to change the game in Nigeria. You must be very courageous, because a lot of people will be jailed, right? A lot of people will be jailed. So we need courageous leaders to change, but we also need the support of a population that is willing to demand for a better governance. You know, the blueprint is everywhere. We can take any of those 5 countries as a blueprint. What we need is execution, consistency, and accountability. I believe with all of this, you know, we truly can change the game in this country and we can truly become a world-class country. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, apologies. I think we have a WhatsApp message, right? Okay, we are not going to take the quote for today. Sorry, Emma Binu. Okay, it says, with this crop of politicians, absolutely not. I dare say greed, lack of foresight, selfishness, not selflessness, prioritizing what will benefit them only, etc. Even as far back to the founding fathers' story to include that. Infrastructure, when last was Federal Road fixed? FEMA left with President Goodluck Jonathan. Last and present administration is about aviation. And that's from Grace. Thank you so much. Please ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, lives a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.